Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for your time today. My name is Julio Petrovitch, and I'm both Technical Marketing Engineer and Product Manager for the AirCheck and the AirMagnet product lines. And today, I'm here to happily announce the AirCheck G2 v3 firmware or software. And this is something that a lot of people have been wondering about. What's new? What's coming next? And now you guys will get the almost first shot at what it is. So let's get started. So the first half of what's new. And we'll be going through details on all this in a few moments. A few things. Over-the-network firmware updates. You also have over-the-network profile sharing. We'll also be including improved LinkLife interaction. And I know that's a little vague, but we'll be providing details in a moment. You have an improved Locator tool accuracy. You have enhanced AP name support. And we'll be providing details on what that means in a few moments. Improved iPerf test performance. Second half, improved packet capture workflow. Voice VLAN on Ethernet test. You'll be able to import certificates with the thumb drive now. And a static IP on the Ethernet test. And lots more that we'll be covering in a few moments. So let's get to the details here. First, over-the-network firmware updates. So as you guys may or may not know, currently, to be able to update the firmware on the AirCheck G2, you need to plug it into a laptop, download a firmware file from our website, open your AirCheck G2 manager, then transfer the update file through the manager, through a USB, through the AirCheck. So now we change that. Instead of having to go through all that process, and of course for those that, let's say, don't have Windows and don't want to use the AirCheck manager, we made it easier. You just need to claim your unit to LinkLife, and you'll be able to download firmware updates from there. Of course, starting from v3. So you still need to install v3 using the old method. But after that, any other firmware updates will be done through LinkLife or through the network. Yay.
By the way.
Yep. I know it's been long coming. So it should have been done a while ago. If you ask.
You still do it the old way, though?
Yes.
Okay.
The old way through the manager is still supported. And there's also a hidden backdoor way through a USB thumb drive that can be used too.
So you're not getting rid of IT, I mean, the AirCheck manager, you're getting...
No, because there's some of our customers that are not allowed to use cloud services, or for security purposes prefer to have an enclosed environment. So they like to use the manager. Oh, another detail here. Before I move on, you may also notice that now under the LinkLife settings at the bottom, you'll also see information on if the unit is claimed, the unit's name, and the organization. So you'll know to whom each unit belongs, which organization it's being claimed to, and if it's being claimed to LinkLife or not. So a lot of people was like, hey, I got this unit here. I have no idea if it's being claimed or not. What's the name of it? So now all that information is there. Next, over the network profile sharing. So similar to the network updates, you only had 2 options to share profiles in the past. So you created a profile on your AirCheck or through the AirCheck manager. Then you wanted to share it with someone, you had to pull it out of the AirCheck through the AirCheck manager, so through a USB cord, then email it to someone or put it on a server somewhere. That person had to download it, they'll have to import it into the AirCheck manager, then they will have to transfer it through USB to their AirCheck. Now it's a lot easier. Starting with version 3.0, you can create a profile on your AirCheck, upload it from there directly to LinkLife, And then when you get to LinkLife, it will be available to share with the rest of the organization or the units on that organization. And you can select if you want to share it with everyone or you want to share it with specific units only. And then next time they connect to LinkLife, let's say they run an auto test or they just plug into the Ethernet, basically all those profiles will get downloaded. Okay? So a lot easier to share, basically making sure that everyone uses the same profile, for example. So in the past, you could have, let's say, 20 units and 15 guys updated or have the same profile and 5 were using something else. So now you can make sure everyone is using the same configuration or profiles. Next, and this one was a little vague, but here's a little more detail. Improved LinkLife interaction. Besides everything we covered so far, which includes LinkLife or involves LinkLife, there's a few more things. For example, basically now you'll be able to upload any test results. Example, in the past or version 2.01, which is the current one, you could upload connectivity test results. So the connection test on the wireless or on the Ethernet. Now, you can, for example, run auto test, and that test result will not only include the connection test information, it will also include the air quality information. Or you can save a session file, and then you can upload that session file to LinkLife. Or you could take a screenshot, and you can upload that screenshot to LinkLife. Notice that in that case, you can also attach that screenshot to the latest test. So you run a test, take a screenshot of the results, you can attach it to that test and just upload everything at the same time. You have packet captures. So you guys may remember that we introduced packet captures on the latest release, well, 2.0. Then now you can save that capture and upload it to LinkLife too. And of course, you have other information like job, location information, comments. All that information can now be uploaded to LinkLife. And it can be uploaded as tags, or you can create a folder using that information too. Very similar to the Link Runner, for those that are used to using the Link Runner G2.
So I really like the LinkLife product because it does help me a lot of times. Sometimes I'll save a thing but forget to email it to myself or something like that. But with regards to that, in times where, say with an AirCheck, I'm going around, I want to do multiple tests across a singular environment or something like that. Is there the ability to maybe not send a LinkLife for every single test during that, and then build it into a batch maybe? And then expanding on that, is there any ability for you guys to maybe simplify that so people like myself that need it into Excel, I don't have to go parse stuff out of this file later, like maybe put an Excel tag in there that's comma separated or something, right, that would make it easy for importing, for producing final documentation to a customer?
That's a good question. So there's a few ways you could do that. Let's say, for example, you just want to save a complete session. You walk around, you're looking at all the APs in the area, clients, run a few connection tests. So you have the option of just walking around, run tests, and all that will be saved into a single session.
Okay.
So when you're done, you save that session, and basically everything will be included. You can upload everything on that same file. Another option, let's say that you disable the LinkLife connectivity. You have the option of disabling that right now. There's a queue of 10 files that you can save on memory until the next time. So let's say you want to save 10 sessions. You do a session now, let's say this floor of the building, go down to the first floor of the building, do a second session, and so on. You can save up to 10 sessions, and those sessions will include the connection test, discovery, etc., utilization, and so on, even interferes, throughput tests. And then you can basically just upload all 10 of them. Notice that if you run more than 10, though, it will basically overwrite the first one, and so on.
What about with regards to doing an Ethernet-based test off of the AirCheck? because a lot of times I'll use that to verify, PoE status, things like that. Every time I run one of those, though, there's no saving it. It just immediately shoots off a LinkLive report.
Good question. So if you disable the LinkLive option, it will save up to 10 of them in a row. Right now, it's limited to 10, though.
But I'm looking for something more to help me expedite creating that documentation. And it's nice and pretty in the email form, but it's really not practical for me to have to parse that out later.
So with the V3, since you'll be able to basically upload the session files, and we'll be looking at this in a few more moments, but you'll also be able to open the session file and look at it. You now can also generate reports for the session file or save it as a CSV.
Okay.
And from there, you can customize as required.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's something
to help me get through that process quicker.
Yeah. So that's also included on V3.
Okay.
Now, so.
Cool.
Another thing, although this may be minor depending on if you use it a lot or not, is the improved Locator tool. So we improved the accuracy of the Locator tool. You may be wondering, okay, so how does that work? So on the past, the Locator tool, basically as soon as you went into it, the Wi-Fi radio on the AirCheck from a 3x3 mode would go into a 1x1 mode. So from 3 antennas, it will go into one single antenna during the Locator, while using the Locator tool. And you may have noticed that if you were looking at the signal strength that's shown on the Locator tool, and compare that to the signal strength on the AP details screen, you may have seen a few dBs difference in there. So what we did now is that when you go to the Locator tool, the AirCheck will now use all 3 antennas. Or we will go into 3x3 mode, or we'll stay into 3x3 mode while using the Locator tool. So the signal strength accuracy or measurement here on the Locator will be the same as that you will see on the, let's say, AP list or AP details or client details and so on. Okay, so make it a little more accurate when you're trying to locate unauthorized devices, or if you lost an AP somewhere on the roof and you can find it, it makes it easier too. Next, enhanced AP name support. So, as you guys know, many AP vendors support the option of transmitting the AP name as part of the beacons. So, technically, you should be able to see that name with your client device, see what the name of the AP is, not only the MAC address or the OUI. On previous versions of the AirCheck G2, we supported the Cisco names, but for this version, we've added a bunch of others. Aerohive, Aruba, Extreme Networks, and Huawei. If you have others that you want to add, feel free to let me know, and we'll consider those.
I think Mitch is really disappointed that we didn't get Fortinet in there.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
Hey, no, that's cool. If you guys have a list, hey, just let me know. We'll be more than happy to add more to a list. These are the ones that were the most popular, let's say. A lot of people were asking about them. Not only in the US, but other countries. So that's why you may see products that from all over the world in there. Improved iPerf test performance. So, as you guys know, on version 2.0, we introduced the option of performing an iPerf throughput test with the AirCheck G2. And you could use the test accessory or your own iPerf server. And hey, it's a pretty popular tool. Lots of people like it. Still, there were a few little details on which we could improve on. And that's what we tried to do on this version. For example, one thing is that anytime you wanted to change from UDP to TCP or reversed, you had to go all the way back to the home screen, go to settings, scroll down to the iPerf test settings, make a change, go back to the home screen, so go back, let's say, to the network screen, select your network, reconnect, and so on. So to simplify that, now as part of the iPerf selection screen, or iPerf server selection screen, there's a new settings option that will take you directly to the settings. So instead of having to reconnect, disconnect, reconnect again every time you want to change between TCP or UDP, there's no need to do that. Just go to settings while selecting your iPerf server. Select if you want to do TCP, UDP, or now you can also change the port, change the duration of the test. Another option we added that was like hidden before is the UDP bandwidth threshold, which for some reason in the past, you may or may not know this, it was mixed with the thresholds. So if you went to the thresholds and you change the UDP threshold, that will also change the UDP bandwidth threshold. So now we put that under the settings, where it's easier to access and find. And we also increased the max throughput. Some people noticed or didn't like the limitations on how much throughput could be measured. In the past, we had a max of about 240, 250 maybe megabytes per second. We pushed that up a little. And notice that even though the official number is 300 megabytes per second, as you may see on the screenshot, it will go beyond that. Okie doke. Another feature that we introduced on the V2 version of the AirCheck was the packet captures. And hey, this is a pretty useful tool. The only weird part, if you ask me personally, and some people has gave me this feedback, is that the packet capture started automatically when you turn on the unit. There was no way of starting or stopping the packet capture manually. So you didn't have a lot of control. You also didn't have the option of selecting a specific client or access point or channel, or specify other settings. So now what we've done, you can now go to, let's say, the AP details, select an AP, and you'll see an option to capture. So you'll be able to capture packets for that specific AP or specific client, or you can do it for a specific channel too. So you'll be able to basically have more control, decide when to start the capture, when to finish the capture. You can also select which device you want to capture for. Besides that, you'll be able to select a file size, a slice size, so if you want to capture the headers only, the entire thing. Frame type, control, management, data frames. So all that is available. Same as before, the capture will be saved as a PCAP. And like I mentioned earlier, you have the option of uploading that capture to LinkLife now and share it with someone else, or you can save it locally and transfer it, same as before, through USB or something to a laptop or tablet.
So you're obviously putting a lot of reliance on LinkLive nowadays, and I think that's fantastic. Obviously, looking to move away from the desktop app. Two questions as far as LinkLive is concerned. How many more features do need to show up in LinkLive before the desktop app becomes no longer required? And then number two, API access into LinkLive for custom reporting, external third-party integration, things like that.
So one question at a time. The first one. Reality is, regarding the AirCheck at least, there's not a lot left.
Good.
The only few features, one I can remember, and I'm not even well, it may be or may not be used a lot, is, for example, creating your own OUI, or adding your own OUI to the files. So if, let's say, a new OUI came out, and you don't want to wait for us to create a new file or update the file, you can create your own OUI using the manager. But that's really the only major feature that's left that's not on LinkLive at this time.
Fantastic.
I'm not really sure how much people uses that feature. I know some people does, because I've had people ask about it. But basically, almost everything is now on LinkLive. As for the second question, APIs. So this is one we've been asked about a lot. The only, I guess, the only thing we've been thinking about here is that, okay, we can add APIs, but we also have a lot of very security conscious customers that may be worried about an API that someone could somehow get into and extract data from their network. So we're a little conflicted in there because a lot of people have been asking for the APIs. It will make it a lot easier to extract data, generate your own reports, etc. But we also have customers that are worried about security because of those APIs since they're cloud-based. So it's something we're considering. It's something that we're seriously thinking about. But if you guys have any feedback that you can, share with me and say, well, security shouldn't be so much of a concern because of this and that, I'll be happy to collect that.
So security shouldn't be that much of a concern because
There you go.
look at any other cloud-hosted service that has API access. Pick on an infrastructure. Look at somebody like Meraki, right? Obviously, secure access to API data is possible in world, and so obviously, I don't think anybody's advocating an API to get everybody's data from everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I would
That's
say,
a very good point. Yeah.
a security-first API would, I think, certainly go a long way.
Okay.
And then I guess I do have a follow-on question as I've been listening to you talk.
Sure.
What about fleet management for AirChecks, specifically around locking and asset management of those devices? Now that we have connectivity into LinkLife, it strikes me that something that's more MDM specific might be appropriate, so that if an asset gets lost or stolen, or it gets locked, so if I have a contractor walk away with an AirCheck, it becomes a brick.
Yep.
I think some of those security things, now that you're pushing more reliance into the LinkLife product, would become appropriate.
Indeed, and it is something we are already looking at.
Good.
So a few things that we're planning for a future version, or maybe even the next one. One, being able to lock profiles. So that you share the profile with the technicians, but they can change it. It's basically locked in there. That's one that we've been prioritizing. Another one, like you mentioned, adding a little more management capabilities or security capabilities. Now that we basically have all the handhelds basically synchronizing or sharing a lot of data with LinkLife, that's basically the next logical step. And we were trying to catch up. As you guys may know, AirCheck was a little behind, for example, compared to the LinkRunner G2 or some of the other products. But now that it's on the same level, and basically it's a replacement for the manager in most cases. That's the next logical step. So it's something that we are moving to.
So I've got kind of I've got a multi-part question with regards to the AirCheck G2. So I'm assuming V3 has not removed the ability for us to VNC into the device.
Nope, still there.
Ethernet-based. All right. So with regards to that, if we can get the PoE draw off of the Ethernet port, is there any thought about expanding that capability to maybe allow me to drop an AirCheck in place somewhere and then go back to a desk or have another tech out in the field running around moving the device for me and then me controlling it so I can maybe speed the process along faster if there was something specific I was looking for? Like allow VNC to be a true remote desktop into the device?
Yeah, so right now, let's see if I understood what you're trying to do here.
So test accessory on steroids.
No, well, I want the AirCheck to be able to sit in place and then go back to a desk somewhere, or if I'm at a desk and I can send a tech out to run around campus or whatever, I can run the test as I want it to be run without having to send them a profile or anything like that.
So you'd come in
I would come in across the VNC into the Ethernet port of the device and then issue the command or check the box to run the test or whatever.
I got
Well,
it.
wouldn't it just be easier to have the tech run the test for you?
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at it more as use the Ethernet as just an uplink.
So the
You can
current
come in VNC right now through the wireless.
That's what I thought you were asking for.
So the current version of the VNC server on the AirCheck will allow you to take control of the AirCheck. Depends on the VNC client you're using on your laptop or tablet. But the server itself will allow you to take control. So I can show you, well, not right now, but after we're done with this session, remind me, I have a little setup back there that I can show you how that works.
Okay, because I thought the VNC was only for view only.
No, it's view and control.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We use it a lot for roaming tests. We walk around and there's a lot of data in there. Is there a better way to export all that stuff and be able to look at it later? 'Cause right now we're sort of stuck looking at the little screen, kind of like we were talking about with the air mag and stuff. There's limited real estate, but can we get that out of there?
Yeah, good question. So the raw data on itself with V3 will still stay inside the unit, but you have the option now of, let's say you're doing a roaming test, you notice that you get disconnected, or you want, there's a screen that you want to, or it's part of time that you really want to look at later. So you can take a screenshot and attach it to the last test result and just upload that completely, and it will show up automatically in LinkLife. So right now, that's the easiest way we have to do that. As for the raw data, that's a good idea. It's a lot of data, though, but it is something that we can consider in the future, though. If you want to upload the entire raw data with log files and everything and review those, it's something that, yeah, I think it's something we could do.
Okay.
But right now, you can take a screenshot of any specific event in there and then just upload it with the results. Okie doke. Moving on then, pretty quickly. Voice VLAN. This is more for the Ethernet test. You're running an Ethernet test. You want to know if the voice VLAN configuration is correct. Then you'll be able to see that now. So under VLAN, you'll see now on the screen the voice VLAN information. Importing certificates. So on the current version, 2.0, 2.01, you had to do this through the AirCheck Manager. So if you wanted to connect to a secure network with WPA2E, whatever type of security encryption you were using and needed a certificate, you had to go through the AirCheck Manager, import the certificate there, and then transfer it into the AirCheck G2. Now we simplify that. Basically, you can just save that certificate on a thumb drive, plug it into the AirCheck, and import it directly. So no need for the AirCheck Manager anymore for that part. If you're wondering why we didn't, and I'm sure you guys know this by now, but just in case, why we didn't add this as a LinkLife thing is that a lot of people will be very paranoid about uploading their certificates to the cloud. So it's done directly on the USB port of the unit. Another one that we've been asked about for a long time is support for static IPs on the Ethernet test. So we did support in the past, from the beginning really, static IPs on the Wi-Fi connectivity test. But the Ethernet test only supported DHCP. Now you have both DHCP or static IP, depending on which one you prefer to use. And then there's a bunch others. For example, enhanced captive portals. So some of you may or may not have noticed that with the current version, 2.0, 2.01, you may or may not be able to log in through a captive portal. For some captive portals, the little web page will come up. You'll be able to log in like normal. For others, it will just show a blank page. After doing some research, we found out that it was a bug on the browser. Basically, it wasn't handling missing elements correctly, or things it didn't know. For example, flash videos, or if an image was missing on the website or a link, then it didn't know what to do, and blank page. We fixed that, so now you should be able to basically use or log in through any captive portal.
So just going back to the Ethernet part real quick. Is there any work on adding to the Ethernet testing from the AirCheck the ability for it to list all 802.1q tags on that port as well? So if you're doing a bridged environment with like a Ruckus or an AirHive or something like that, I can run all my tests. I know I'm on PoE. I know I'm getting the right VLANs, bridge to the port, things like that.
It is something we've been asked about, so it's in our list of things to do. It's something that we already added on the new version of the Link Runner G2. But for the AirCheck G2 on itself, it's still on the list.
Sure.
We hope it will be included soon. Yep.
Okay.
A few other things, and this one may be minor, but we also reorganized the settings options. So if you go to the settings screen now, basically the most useful or most important options are now on the top, and anything that most people doesn't even touch is down at the bottom. So you don't have to scroll up and down every time you're looking for something. Another one that a lot of people complain about, mostly because in the past you had to transfer everything to USB, was the USB speeds. So we've improved those, and you will notice a fair amount of difference now. It's a lot faster. Still, we may be a little late, because now you can upload anything to LinkLife. Anyway.
How do you improve USB transfer speeds? Was that like it was running USB 2.0?
It was more of a driver performance thing.
Okay.
So basically, the driver wasn't performing as efficiently as it should have.
And we never see that in the Wi-Fi community. Drivers are always
Drivers are always the best they can be. Never been bad.
That's the reason they never update them, right?
Exactly.
If you're perfect from the beginning.
There you go. Hey, that's a way of doing it. So yeah, it was a driver thing. We updated that, and you'll see now real USB 2.0 performance in there.
Okay, thanks.
And of course, you have a new vendor Mac OUI file, so you'll see the latest in there.
Now on that, is that something that can be just updated at any time? Like we can just hit a quick update over the air?
Not over the air yet, but you can go to our website and download the latest one from there, and then transfer it into a unit.
So you still need the manager to do the Mac update?
For
Mac
that
OUI?
one, yes. That's another difference. That's a good one. Yeah. So there's two things that are still not on LinkLife yet. Yep. Yep.
Comment from the internet, there's apparently some challenges around when you leave them sit idle for a long time, not powered on, the battery discharges more than the previous generation. Any comment or on that?
Sure. So besides everything we've covered, and I think this is the last slide, there's a few bug fixes we've included. Regarding battery performance, we do know that over time, the battery creates a memory. So if you leave it, I don't know, in a cabinet somewhere without charging for a long time, or you just leave it charging 2 or 3 days a week, the entire weekend plugged in, the battery has a tendency of creating memory. And over time, you'll notice that even though it says it has a 20% charge left, well, 2 bars on the little screen, the battery may be dead in that time. So it's more of a battery memory problem in that case. If you guys see that happen, feel free to contact our tech team to get a battery replacement. So we'll be happy to replace the battery for you.
I think the specific concern was if I take a fully charged previous generation and a fully charged G2 and unplug them and let them sit for a month, and I come back, the previous generation works just fine, almost as a full battery. The G2 doesn't even power on.
Yeah, it's the battery thing. So it's basically related to the memory on the battery. Even if you're not using it, it still will just keep pulling a little trickle of power out of there. So over time, you leave it there for a few weeks, it will be dead when you come back.
Does this same type of thing affect the Link Runner G2 as well?
Yes, it's the same battery. Difference in the Link Runner is that since you can power via PoE, you may not notice it because while you're testing, it's charging all the time.
So by design, don't contact support to get it replaced?
No, by design, do contact support, and get it replaced.
And get it replaced if it's discharging while sitting idle?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. notice that if you have one of the the first batch of AirCheck G2s, we had a different battery. We did change that battery about maybe 8 months ago, maybe a year. So if you have a battery that's older than 1 year, you may want to get a contact tag to replace it and get on the new batteries. New batteries have a better performance. I think someone earlier left a unit back there. That's the problem you're having, is the battery. So anyway, moving on. Oh yeah, a few other bugs I wanted to mention very super quick. So another thing that you may have seen on, let's say, the web is that, or some of you may have experienced, is a BSOD or blue screens. So those don't happen all the time, but if you've seen those with version 3.0, they should be gone. If you still see any after version 3.0, please let us know. But so far with beta testing, they're completely gone. So anyway, I think that covers that part. So one more thing I want to do before we get to some of the other products is a test accessory roadmap. So some of you guys may or may not have the chance of using the test accessory. Like you mentioned earlier, it's basically a pocket-sized iPerf server. And some of you may be wondering, okay, so what's new? It's been out for a while. So one thing you may or may not know is that about 8 months ago, maybe 10, we released a new firmware update on the test accessory. And originally, the test accessory could only test with the, will only work with the AirCheck G2. That was originally when it came out first, it was basically tied to the AirCheck. But with that firmware update, basically we opened up the test accessory. So you can use it with basically your own iPerf client, any other device that you prefer, a link runner if you want, etc. So that happened a few months ago. But now you may be wondering what's next. Well, next, we'll be including iPerf 2 support. So a lot of people has been asking for us to not only support iPerf 3, but also add iPerf 2 support. Because, hey, they have their own setups. They're all using iPerf 2. They like iPerf 2. Hey, and that's completely OK with us. So that's going to be included in there. You also have manual firmware updates. So right now, the only way to update the firmware on the test accessory is through LinkLife. But like I mentioned earlier, there's some of our customers that have secure networks, don't like using don't like using cloud-based services. So for those that can't use a cloud service, you will be able to update the firmware manually. And different security improvements like blocking some ports that are not being used.
Manual firmware, is there like a web page on the tests?
Yep.
Okay, because
so similar to the Link Sprinter 300, there's a web page on the test accessory.
Okay.
So there we'll add a little option for that. So that's the roadmap for the test accessory. So some pretty cool stuff coming along. If you have any other idea, yeah, go ahead.
So to upgrade to this version, you have to LinkLive it. But in the future, you could use the manual.
That's correct. Yep. Notice that if you guys have any other ideas, things you would like to see on the test accessory, let us know. Yeah, there you go. That was fast.
Yeah, ask and you shall receive, right? So the form factor is obviously very similar to the Link Sprinters.
Yep.
If there's some sort of commonality in hardware, it would be great to maybe like change a test accessory into a Link Sprinter, maybe by way of profile or whatever, right? If there's a way that I could take or a Link Sprinter and change it into a test accessory.
Does it have enough? I think they have different chunks of.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is if there's enough commonality, it would be great to take the one thing that I've got in my hand and have it be multiple functions. Even if it was, hey, when it's in Link Sprinter mode, it can't do test iPerf from when it's there, right?
So there's differences on the hardware.
That's too bad.
Still, some of the capabilities, or many of them, are available on the test accessory. So for example, the testing capabilities, verifying PoE, connectivity to the, getting an IP address, DHCP server, DNS, getting information about the switch, all that is available on the test accessory. With the latest version, we also added more information. So a lot of the test results are very similar to the Lynx printer. But the difference here, and this is the biggest hardware difference, is that compared to a Lynx Printer 300, there's no Wi-Fi radio in there. So basically, every time you plug in the test accessory, you'll see the lights. And when you see the cloud light, basically it will upload the result to LinkLife. You can see the results there. And you can also set it up so it will send you an email. So you still can get an email from LinkLife with the results. But since there's no Wi-Fi radio, you won't get the little app. That's the difference in there, the bigger difference. But most of the results are the same as the Lynx Printer 300.